So as usual, Chris and Alex were rumbling around about like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I got out of my sleeping bag around 9 maybe or something like that. I'm always the last ready, which is kind of the way I like it actually. And what I did was slowly, you know, it was really windy outside, etc. We had perfect weather before. I mean, we had stellar weather. You know, it's perfectly. It was amazing. I mean, it's good karma, and I had the little Buddha here thanks to the beautiful and perfect Jill. So we really had excellent weather, as we mentioned. But you know, come Sunday morning, it was like
the wind was getting pretty strong.
Really cloudy in the valley.
We were actually decently clear at Rainier, or at Camp Muir. It was just, you looking down the mountain, you could see the clouds were really rolling in.
Yep, exactly. So we made our way down the glacier, the first part of the Muir snowfield, and there's a spot down there where basically you can take off your crampons. And these two guys took off, more or less. You know, I like to go slow. I like to explore a little bit. So that's actually the last time I saw them for a couple of days, and I'll tell you why. There's a trail. They went off one way, I went down another way, started glissading down another part of the snowfield just in boots without crampons. Probably descended for about 20 minutes. I started hearing these noises. I'm like, it sounds like a female voice. And it sounded like a female voice in distress. And so, you know, I'm thinking I'm hearing things to begin with, but then I hear it again. And so I went over one ridge, probably walked for about maybe 5-10 minutes over one ridge. And it got louder, and I walked over another ridge for a little while, and the weather's kind of coming in. And then the voices are getting louder and louder, just this voice. And so I stopped at one location, and out of the fog come these two people, and they're basically lost. And they were pretty happy to see me, to say the least. First thing I asked them is, do you have an altimeter? Do you know what altitude we're at? 'Cause I'm looking around, and it's like starting to white out, and boom, totally whites out. Completely, and which is really interesting. If you ever spend time on a coastal mountain, it's like marine weather, basically. So when it whites out, you cannot see further. In some cases, you can't see further than 10 feet in front of you. So basically, I'm with these two people who were a little bit underprepared. They didn't have anything in the way of shelter at all. We're in a whiteout situation. It was probably only noon. We made our way a little further down and realized we're never going to find the trail again. And so I made the decision, we're going to stop, build a shelter, and hang out. And I thought, you know, maybe we'll hang out for a few hours. Maybe we'll hang out for a little while. Whatever. We hung out for 2 days. 2 days in the Helter Shelter. Yeah, we call it the Helter Shelter after a while. I'll show you a couple. I'll show you a couple pictures of that right now.
Yeah,
check it out. Pretty hilarious. And then once that was over and done with, you know, my biggest concern while we were stuck in this little makeshift lean-to thing that we'd made in the snow and the fog and the whiteout was that Alex or Chris would be worried about me. And obviously, you guys were a little worried about me because they called in the cavalry. Yeah. So you picture this. Here I am sitting at about 7,600 feet on Mount Rainier. Can't see much further than about 10 feet. Realizing that I had to stay there until the weather clears. If quite oftentimes, if you don't do that, you're going to walk off a cliff or you're going to jump in a crevasse or whatever it might be. But Chris can tell you what happened after that.
Yeah, we basically, you know, now. Imagine from myself and from Alex's perspective, we split up with Phill probably around noon on Sunday.
A little earlier. Yep.
Little earlier, a little before noon. And, you know, we basically, it was normal. You know, he wanted to take his time, didn't want to rush things down. So, you know, we said, all right, well, personally, we just wanted to get down off the mountain and rush. Hey, you know, into the visitor center. We had 4 days up there. We wanted to be in, you know, cozy, warm visitor center, have a couple beers, you know, just relax and enjoy the trip that we had.
Yep.
We got down to Paradise Visitor Center probably around 1:15 in the afternoon. Expected Phill maybe an hour, 2 hours at most behind us. So you can imagine how we were feeling at 6 p.m. that day when they were closing the visitor center and Phill had yet to show up.
Because I was sitting in a shelter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, playing word games and eating patak paneer on rice and laughing my head off, actually.
Yeah, it was probably about 8:30, you know, 8:45, and finally we were saying, well, you know, we're not going to sleep in the truck here. We actually drove down to Ashford, found a little hotel to stay in, and you know, stayed there overnight.
The people who actually I hooked up to, who were lost, I don't think they really realized the severity of the situation. If they hadn't met up with me and they had not had a shelter, they would have died.
And
period.
The thing with the whole situation, and the thing that was really throwing myself, Alex, and the rest of the Rangers off, just from what we knew about Phill, is that no one knew this other couple was on the mountain.
Yep.
They had given the wrong vehicle information to the Rangers when they went up.
But anyway, you know, the outcome was good. The outcome was good. What happened in the end was we waited 2 nights in the shelter. on the last day, which was the Tuesday, which was, I believe, the 18th of September.
Yeah.
We didn't get much sleep in that shelter because we're all sitting in there supporting each other and stuff. But we were warm and we had a good time and good food.
Yeah.
I could see stars about 5 o'clock in the morning. We stood outside for a little while, and it was a really light layer, and there's very little wind. So from my experience from before, because I spent a good portion of my life climbing, is I knew that probably was going to burn off, and burn off it did. So it burned off completely. Started snowing a little bit, but I was able to see exactly where we were. I was actually just able to see across the valley and see all sorts of stuff, and just see what our route would be to get over to the trail. We're walking down the trail by a place called Pebble Creek, which is about 7,200 feet. And we see these people off in the distance or whatever, like they look like they're looking for something or whatever, and they yell out, "Hey, have you seen the lost climber?" And I'm like, "What lost climber? What's who?" And they said, "Phill." I said, "Phill who?" They said, "Phill Michael." I said, "He's not lost. He's right here." And I'm not. And so they came down and we had a good laugh about it, sort of, and basically just made our way down. And they realized that we did what we had to do.
No, I mean, what's something that someone, in your opinion, what's something that someone should expect just doing a climb on a mountain that, I mean, there's signs up all over the place. They're told when they come in. The weather can change in an instant, which it really did. It caught this couple by surprise.
Yep. Yeah, it did.
As you mentioned, they totally would have been, they probably would have been dead had they not run into you.
Yep.
Because they didn't really have any knowledge or experience on what to do.
They didn't have tons of knowledge. They are very capable people. They had a lot of gear. They just didn't have a shelter, and I think probably that's the very last time. And I'm sure they're going to go up many other times and with a shelter next time, because it's crucial on coastal climbing or any kind of climbing for that matter. We're doing any kind of alpine stuff, is to make sure you have some kind of shelter with you in case you got in a sticky situation.
Yeah, and I mean, you didn't even really have a tent, but you had a really big guide tarp.
I have this like super micro thin guide tarp, which
that thing's really cool.
I could spend in my sleeping bag and be under or within that tarp for 10 days, no problem, with a jar of peanut butter, and I'd be fine. so that's what we had, and that's what we used, which was really good. But anyway, the outcome, like I said, the outcome was all good.
The outcome was good. It was really actually a good learning experience from myself and Alex's point of view. Basically, once we contacted the rangers and they started the official, okay, this guy hasn't come off the mountain, now we're starting the official search and rescue operation. And essentially what they do, the first day, someone hasn't returned, they haven't come back, they do what they refer to as a hasty search, which is basically a few teams. There was 6 of us out there on Monday in 2-man teams, basically me and a ranger, Alex and a ranger, and then a group of just 2 rangers. We go up to the point of last seen, and then just sort of spread out in the general area around there, searching, calling. Now, unfortunately, Monday, the visibility was still just as bad as it was coming down Sunday. You could barely see 100 meters. Yep. And with the wind, the vocalization wasn't really helping either. You could yell as loud as you possibly could, and it wouldn't get very far. So, unfortunately, the possibility was still very slim that they heard us.
And the ranger referred to that area as the Bermuda Triangle of Rainier. So I guess they've, unfortunately, what's happened in the past is people have been in that situation where they get into a whiteout, and what they do is they panic, try and walk around all over the place,
keep
walk
going
up the cliff,
and get more lost.
Yeah, so we totally did the right thing, and it was all good. So anyway, we're here right now, which is really good.
Indeed.
And great trip.
Yep.
Rainier is an awesome place to go. If you're lucky enough to do it yourself, hopefully you have good weather. You get the pretty amazing view of the whole of the world. Really.
Definitely, it was just beautiful.
Yeah, totally spectacular.
First days we were there.
Either way, I think we're ready to log off.
Yeah, I think that about covers it for this episode.
Yeah, episode 5 is going to be all about Nepal and the Sherpa and all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot of good footage on that.
So hopefully,
Phill took while he was there.
Yeah, hopefully if you're watching this right now, either what you're doing is you're watching it because you've downloaded it off our website, or you subscribe to it via one of the podcast engines. I really suggest that you do that. There's we've got a subscription page in there. Just click on it. There's all kinds of opportunities and all kinds of different options as far as subscriing to what we're doing. It doesn't cost you a cent. Right?
Not at all.
Yeah, just do it.
And as always, if you go to our website, you'll notice really big, bright, and annoying right on the left-hand side of the site is a big button.
Spot TV. Subscribe.
Big button for subscription, and right above it is a button to send us your questions. If you have questions about our adventures, questions about what we're planning on doing, what we have done in the past, fire them off to us. Hit that button. It'll open up your email. You send us your question. We'll answer it right on the show.
Exactly. So thank you very much for watching episode 4 of secretspot.tv, our little podcast. We've been here from Agua Verde, and it's getting dark now, so it's time to eat some food and maybe have another lemonade and apple juice.
And another apple juice.
And I'm Phill Michael.
And I'm Chris Stanko.
Later.
Thanks for watching.
Rainier. When did we decide to get at this? Probably May or something like that. Alex
Yes,
and
it
Chris.
was.
Yeah, Alex
Yep.
and Chris were talking about doing it, and
Yep.
somehow I wormed my way into the situation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And which was a really good idea because that was a good chance for all three of us to get together and enjoy ourselves.
Ended up with a great learning experience. So
Yep.
we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Absolutely. It's a pretty incredible coastal volcano. It's more or less dormant, but there's a few steam vents there, which is pretty spectacular. It's actually the third highest peak in the continental U.S.
Is it 14,000?
410 feet.
400. Yep.
Yeah.
14,410 feet.
Yeah, exactly. And what we did was we... Oh! Here, stop.